Hello, and welcome to the very first Librarian Reading. I find that often in short horror stories, the most effective ones aren't the ones that are very detailed in story and characters, but the ones that rather immerse you in their atmosphere. Tonight's story is one of my favorites because I think it's very effective at doing just that, despite its simplicity. Enjoy. I'm the janitor at a pretty remote high school in central Russia. At least, I was, until about a week ago. I handed in my resignation letter pretty quickly after what happened to me. A little bit of background first. Because of the remoteness of this school, I would live on site 5 days of the week and return to my single flat during the weekends. I bunked in this dirty little shack converted from a tool shed during the week. I picked up a second wage working part-time as a security guard. Alongside the usual janitorial work, which mainly consisted of fixing things that were broken, I would do a sweep of the school with a flashlight, once at 11 p.m., again at 2 or 3 a.m., and one more time at 6 a.m. This all happened a week ago, during my evening sweep of the school. It was a stormy autumn night, and the wind whistled mournfully through the corridors, prying its way in through the cracks in the roof and the holes in the windows. Hey, I never said I was a good janitor. The sun had set, though a pallid shade of orange still clawed at the horizon. I swung my torchlight from left to right, striding along the corridors, checking that each door was locked. Up ahead were the first-floor toilets. The normal gurgling of pipes echoed down the corridor, inviting me to come and check on them. I approached at a brisk pace, but was stopped dead in my tracks moments later. My stomach lurched, the hairs on the back of my neck prickled and stood on end, and I was immediately sheathed in a cold sweat. The toilet had flushed. Come on, I thought. This hadn't happened before. Man, this was supposed to be an easy job for some extra money. What am I even supposed to do if I find an intruder? Stupidly enough, I hadn't even planned for this. I gripped my flashlight tighter. It was one of those mag lights, very heavy, a good weapon in a pinch, I assumed. It definitely came from the female bathroom. I yelled through the door. "Who goes there? You should have been out of here hours ago!" Assuming it was some punk student who'd stayed behind as a dare or something. No response came out. "You better come out right this minute! You're trespassing! I ought to call the cops!" My voice was strangely steady, even though the rest of me was quivering like jelly. "Alright, I'm coming in. Don't make this hard for me." I quickly opened the door and burst in, shining the light from left to right. A row of 5 cubicles. 2 doors closed. I crouched to the cold stone floor and shone the flashlight under the doors. No feet were showing. "I'm kicking these doors down. You're in for a world of hurt." My threats did not sound convincing. Nobody behind the first door. The door popped off its hinges. I was way too high on adrenaline to think about how I'd have to fix that before school started the next day. Once again, nobody. I could hear my heartbeat pounding in my ears. I could feel it beating on my chest. After a couple of minutes, I'd calmed down enough to rationalize. I must have been hearing things. "You need to find a woman," I muttered. "Too long on your own? It does things to your mind." Comfort, I guess, in my own sense of paranoia. I finished up in the school and returned to my shack. Twilight was over, and full night had washed over the sky. I went to sleep. Alarm clock. 2:30 a.m. Almost time for my next round. My head was pounding. My emergency bottle of vodka was empty. Had I drank it all? I didn't remember drinking it, and I didn't feel drunk. I grabbed for my flashlight before realizing it was already in my other hand. I guess I'd fallen asleep holding it. Pulling on a heavy coat, I opened the door and headed out into the bitter Siberian wind. Tiny snowflakes glittered in my bright beam. Autumn doesn't last long up here. I studied the building ahead of me. Only a portion of its lower floor was apparent in my light as I approached. I stopped, as if I'd walked into a solid brick wall. There was a light on in the first floor window, far into the building, last window in the row. Jesus Christ, had I missed some punk earlier in the night? I hesitated. Then, spurred on by adrenaline thicker than the blood in my veins, I raced to the side entrance. My boots thudded heavily on the floor tiling. I sprinted up the only staircase at the opposite end of the building to the light. I started to thunder down the corridor, very ready to hurt whoever was making this night of misery for me. But I ran into an open locker door in my haste and flew a few more feet before skidding to a stop. I would have yelled, but something beat me to it. An agonized, horrific, blood-curdling scream left me paralyzed in fear, crumpled on the floor. It reverberated off the cinder-block walls, growing in volume and discord. Minutes passed, felt like hours. I pissed myself. My flashlight had jumped out of my hands and lay on the floor, blinking in malfunction. It pointed down the corridor. My tunnel vision of rage had gone now, replaced with pure, wide-eyed fear, and I realized the light I'd been investigating was no longer on. Had it ever been on? I heard a shuffle ahead of me, on the edge of the torch's stuttering light. A hard footstep on the tiled floor. A dragging noise, and the sound of nails scraping on something hard. In one swift move of cowardice, I grabbed up my torch, pivoted in my puddle of piss, and sprinted for my life. I felt like I was being pursued. I thought I could hear footsteps, slow and deliberate, following me. No, I know I heard them. I heard the dragging, the scraping. I practically vaulted the stairs, spraining my ankle in the process, but I was beyond fear, beyond pain. I didn't look back. I didn't even close the side door. I just threw my bundle of keys in the direction of the shack, yanked the door off my piece of crap car, jumped inside, and thank God she started. The engine revved loudly as I threw it into first and sped off into the darkness. I saw the light on the first floor again. Something stood, silhouetted at the window. I was already doing 50, and had no intention of stopping.